We finally made it after 10 or 9 games. This is the 10th, of course, and again, it has started, so please let's jump right into the final game of the EU group. Some players already made it, but some players are fighting for the last spot in this group.
Who do you like, Panda?
I like good players. I want to see the best players make it to top 4. Max, very good start to the day. Last game, he kind of choked, let's be honest. Got 8th place when all he needed was a 5th or a 6th position. And I think Max is going to be the one to watch. Max and YCA really pushing for it. Naira Time, maybe the Hail Mary somehow can advance, but, you know, dubious odds.
Yeah, very dubious. I think YCA probably has slightly better odds.
You said I destroyed that round against the round 1 creeps. Very confident player.
Well, he lost to them, too. Losing to round 1 creeps is just the optimal play in every known situation.
If everyone does it.
Yeah. If everyone does it, it saves everyone in the lobby like 10 seconds of time.
But can you be that, you know, cohesive? 8 players? I don't know about that.
Tournament level lobby. You could definitely work out that level of teamwork.
Rage level 2 very early on for Naira Time. Looking for the dream first place to try and make it out of this group, but going to be very hard for him. Early level 2 does help, though.
Yeah, basically any level 2, you know, in your average lobby, you'll probably see like one person complete a unit on round 2 when they have like 3 total opportunities. So this is pretty much anything you like to see except for something like Shadow Shaman.
Perfect kill there on the back creeps. AoE ult. Very satisfying to watch.
Are we trying to hype up round 2
Oh, I just did.
Now?
So, Swim, accept it. This is your life now. This is game 10. Everything is hyped up here. Except for what Snofe, Cmel, and Chow Knives do because they're already qualified.
Okay. So we're going to see an early Smuggler pickup by Naira Time. That's what you'd like to see. Embarrassment round 1 into Smuggler round 2. Almost the dream setup because that means on round 3, you're hitting a round 10 creep wave, right? I mean, you could get some pretty ridiculous things very, very early on.
Yeah, it's kind of the late game choice of items to find. Helps you out throughout the whole course of the game. Doesn't give you any, you know, stats right away, like items like Chainmail and Tranquil Boots do, but it gives you that chance to find fantastic items in the mid and late game.
And I see some early like Bat Riders just being picked up, kind of keeping people open to the idea of Knights. You always kind of want to have like one foot in the door on Knights early. You don't want to commit to them early unless you have like a great starter, a Fall from Grace.
So not more than a foot.
Yeah.
A full leg is maybe too much.
Yeah, I would probably say that. Got the early 2-star Enchantress on the side of Snofe, which is very much what you like to see. You're just looking for that other Druid to complete this.
Has a great mix of alliances there on the right side. Maybe too many alliances open up, but he has to find that second Druid because, of course, it becomes an instant 2-star thanks to the Druid Alliance ability.
We're going to see how these players' items are shaping up here. We do have the Aegis being picked up by Naira Time, and Fall from Grace on Max being the X. We talked about how this is like almost essentially a Knight item. I mean, when you're in Fall from Grace, there's kind of no better way to use humans than Knights, because the only other humans are in Mages and like Crystal Maiden and Lina, and you don't really want the minus armor in Mages. In fact, you might prefer the Silence a little bit more.
Of course, we mentioned before, but Cmel, Snofe, and Chow Knives are 100% locked in for top 3. Nothing can change that. Whereas Max is on 42 points, so tittering on the edge there. YCA is on 40 points, so he got very close last game with a 3rd place finish, where Max finished 8th. And Naira Time at 33. He has the chance on tiebreakers to make it, but it's a slim one, and he has to guarantee a 1st place finish, and Max has to get an 8th place finish. So again, very dubious odds of that happening. Yep. There is, you know, the Hail Mary chance, but not very likely.
Yeah, so the biggest ones to follow here are going to be Max and, of course, YCA4. Max has a pretty sweet start here, all things considered. Nothing super amazing, but Fall from Grace is typically regarded as like one of the higher tier items. You got the nice 2-star Savage pair online already, and it gives you the opportunity to go into some like Knights or find another way to use Fall from Grace value.
We mentioned yesterday alliances like Savage and Knights with the, you know, 2-4-6 breakdown. Very good in the early game. You get the early power spike with the 2. You know, the first completion, whereas Warriors and Hunters are the 3-star, maybe, or the 3 units needed to complete the alliance, so a bit harder sometimes.
Yep, and he's against YCA's board. Again, these are the 2 players that are really, really vying for this final place slot. We see YCA already committed to something like Knights. It's looking pretty good for him so far, even though he's got like less 2-stars on the board. This early Knight setup does very, very well against here.
Oh, the Hex there.
Yep, gonna secure this win.
Is he though? Yeah, he does. So it could be some foreshadowing here. Could be this could be the late game battle we're going to be looking for in round 25, 30.
Possibly. That's a really, really rough loss on the side of Max. Usually early games are kind of like tend to be about like who has more 2 stars, right? That's kind of the name of the game. But YCA just having like the Knight Alliance on his side, as we know, it's probably the strongest alliance right now. You see everyone just trying to jam up their boards with Knights. Everyone's keeping that option open. We're just having the Queen of Pain 2-star. It's pretty valuable here. He's canceling out his demon bonus with his 2 demons. But hey, I mean, if you need the Knight, if you need the frontliner, and you got to have this 2-star Scream, why not for a round or 2?
And Luna could go in for Chaos Knight, but Luna, before level 2, not too strong in the early game. She's okay, but nothing, you know, as powerful as Chaos Knight, for example. And of course, you do need also a front line for that Batrider.
Yep. So we're going to see Wrist's double demon board opener here. Batrider up to 2-star against the also 2-star, 2-star, or sorry, 2-2-star board on the side of Nairo Time.
The 2-star, 2-star.
Yeah.
The best kind of 2-star. The double 2-star.
And it's not going to be enough. Nairo Time's board is looking pretty powerful. He's gone into his kind of like early sort of hunter strategy. We've seen him do a lot where, you know, he kind of sort of felt like he got punished by forcing that maybe a little bit too much yesterday.
Yeah, the early Beastmaster level 2, round 6, very, very strong.
Oh, yeah.
A great unit in the early game.
You got the Pudge level 2 and the 2 hunters to complete that alliance.
And of course, Heartless with Drow and Pudge also. So very sneaky. We talked about hunters being hard to complete early on, but when you find the right pieces, like the Wind Ranger, which got, you know, recently moved down to 2 costs, makes it a bit easier as well.
See Snofe and Cmel already streaking here. Both have picked up pretty good boards. Cmel not necessarily the strongest board, but an early Slark level 1 can do pretty good things even without alliances or even without completing into a 2-star.
Blink Dagger also a great item for the early game and also skills pretty well into the late game. We saw Terror Blades with Blink Dagger doing, you know, great stuff. Keeper of the Light as well for Trumad, kind of that innovative strategy.
Yeah, I need something specific to go on. I think Cmel is probably not going to be able to keep this streak up for long. Going against Snofe's board, although it's actually a very, very close fight. I think Snofe will overwhelm him here.
Enchantress ult does barely go up, but she does end up dying in the process, and we see just a few too many tree boys, wolf boys roaming around.
Don't forget the banana boys.
The banana boys, of course, very important, but all the boys are there.
Let's go ahead and check out our boy Max brings the axe. He's still doing pretty okay. He's got 4 2-stars, except one of them doesn't really count. And of course, you know, he's just looking for a way to actually turn this into something. Even though he's got a lot of 2-stars, that kind of helps you dominate early game boards, but you need direction. You need to figure out, if you're looking at this board, Panda, what are you thinking? Like, where do you go from here?
I got distracted because if Xiao Knives would be 2 positions above, it would be the perfect leaderboard, basically, looking at the board right now, which is interesting, but let's get back to the game, so I'm sorry, I have ADHD.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, if I'm Max, you know, there's a few ways to think about, like, you know, how to transition this board. Right now, he's just making sure he's, like, playing for economy. We see a lot of these players level 4 on round 8, which is right now half the players. So that's an interesting strategy we didn't really see too much of earlier. In this last meta, like, a lot of players didn't prefer to play like this, but I am favoring it more and more. It's very, very viable.
The Venomancer not doing enough there. Pudge does end the life of that little snake boy. We see Shadow Shaman level 2 on the bench. Doesn't surprise me too much. He's just playing his bongo. He's like the background singer for this team.
So if your Max brings the axe right now, I think something that you're going to be wanting to looking for is like an early warrior frontline. I've been liking the warrior frontline more and more, especially now you're like 3-starring your early game warrior stuff like Tiny, stuff like Tusk. I do kind of like this path forward. We've seen a lot of players really favor this like 3-4 warrior frontline for the Savage units.
And Treant level 2 comes in after the Druid buff, so it's going to be a lot of sustain here for Max with Enchantress and the Treant on the board.
Yep. The most important thing to complete this would be Pudge, because it's like starting to lean towards the 3 warriors while also completing Heartless with the Drow. Early 2-star Drow Ranger basically just means you want to get that Pudge online, ready to go, because Heartless is one of the most powerful alliances to just pair up.
And we see Treant sustaining himself, continuing to pummel down on these unsuspecting doctors of the Witch variety. And the last Tree Boy there, healing as well, but just not enough. Does go down. When we see the damage starting to slowly ramp up, of course, there has been a change to the way it works in this patch. You don't take that extra bit of damage, so you're a bit safer in the early game until round 11 at least, after the first creep round, or the fourth creep round.
So we see Max brings the axe. He's still good, whereas YCA is starting to dip a little bit further. He's on a good night path. He's got the Terrorblade contingency, picks up some demons, but he needs to find a better board.
Looking at the Knights, contested by 3 players at the moment. Cmel, YCA, and Xiao Knives on Knights. Xiao Knives on 5 Knights already, missing just that Dragon Knight to complete, but still not many 2-stars. So you have the Alliance bonus, or almost at the full Alliance bonus, but you don't have the power level to go with it with the 2-star Knights.
Yep. And that's kind of the awkwardness. It really isn't that much the case this early on. This is mostly just bad luck, but it's really when you're looking for the 3 stars and you're not hitting them, that's when you're feeling that block, where the 3 players are all trying to share the same pool, and it's not really working out.
YCA finds Anti-Mage level 2.
Yep.
Terrorblade level 2, almost there.
And I gotta say, Wrist's board is looking pretty scary. 2 2-star Queen of Pains. This is a very, very underrated hero. Just right now, Shadow Fiend's kind of getting all the demon glory, but Queen of Pain, you know, this Scream of Pain at 300 damage in the 6 cooldown AoE is very, very powerful as an early 2-star pickup, especially when you double down on it.
Yeah, in the early game especially, not many units have that AoE damage. She has good DPS as well, and of course she scales fairly well into the late game, but not a unit like Bloodseeker that kind of drifts off very quickly. She can definitely stay in a late game comp with Assassins or Demons until the very end, so just a good position to be in, I think, for Wrist.
Absolutely. I mean, you're just looking for this early 3-star high roll, right? I mean, you can do so much with something like that. Look at this bench just like hitting more things he's already got. Just, I mean, it's just 3 stars all the way, right? I mean, you can kind of run some slightly weirder jank if you're just looking to get 3 stars. We see Max taking the level to 6, and we're going to figure out how he's looking to stabilize this. Picking up the Beastmaster leads him in a slightly different direction. He's turning this into a 3 Hunter instead of a 3 Warrior, making him the 3rd player in the lobby to be going for the 3 Hunter path alongside Nero Time and TrueMad, but we all know TrueMad's not going to stay on Hunters for long.
And we see Max and Naratime both with the Aegis, so Max looking for that extra bit of safety, a little bit of a safety net for the late game. Of course, placements really matter. He has to outplace YCA more than anything.
So Max brings the axe, just managing to bring the axe there against Cmel. And yeah, he's really just looking for like the final thing to stabilize his board. Like you need that one extra unit slot. You know, take the level 7 on 17. You get the Windrunner in there. It's very, very powerful on this board. And
he's looking very strong overall. A lot of 2 stars. Has the Venomancer with the Brute of the Aggressor as well. Not much of a bench developed right now, and not maybe the greatest economy out of all these players.
I gotta say, though, this looks like a sign of commitment. I mean, you're on 5 Beastmasters on 12. This is where you're thinking, okay, Hunters is not just like, you know, it's not just a splash, it's not just a girlfriend. This is wife material. We go down with Hunters.
And how would you feel in a game that really you're playing for everything, ending up with Hunters? Do you feel comfortable? I mean, it's a tricky one.
Hunters are not bad. They really aren't bad, but they're definitely not super, super reliable right now. And I would say it's a good feeling when you're the only person on them, but in this lobby, they're a bit contested, so it could be a little bit awkward.
It's going to be a loss possibly to YCA, huge. The opponent. Again, more foreshadowing happening.
Yeah. So Max having the stronger early game, but YCA curving into Demons. He's actually burned his Knights down to 2 and got the 4 Terrorblades online here.
And we're joking around with the foreshadowing, but we mentioned it, tiebreaker. It's round difference. So if these players end up in a tiebreaker situation, which could happen, YCA has just won 2 rounds, and Max has lost 2 rounds against him. So it could matter. Although YCA was very far behind 2 games ago in terms of the round differential. We'll see how it ends up after this one.
We have Nairo Time completing some very, very powerful units here. His board just hit a huge spike, hitting 2 upgrades now with 3 2-star Hunters and 7 Pudges in total.
And he's contesting Hunters for Max, so not a good sign for Max there.
Not good at all. That's actually very, very bad. Hitting Max on his board right now. And I got to say, I mean, Nairo Time has to be favored here. I mean, he just has more 2-stars. Yep. He's got the better Hunter lineup for right now. And both these players happen to be on 5 Beastmasters exactly, which is a pretty big deal. When they complete the second Beastmasters, usually the second 2-star just ends up being on the bench. Beastmaster is a unit that does extra damage to all other Beastmasters with Wild Axes because they all buff all Beastmasters, which means double 2-star Beastmasters can easily fit on these boards.
I think a big thing with Hunters is also the itemization, finding the correct items to, you know, amplify DPS. We see their Mask of Madness on Drow Ranger, a good first step. Want to find the Maelstrom and possibly the Moonshard later on, something like a Sniper, for example. So
we see Snofe also working along on his, you know, typical beast path. We got the 7 Enchantresses here, ready to go for a 3-star.
Finds a Treant.
A lot of players are very close to 3-stars on round 14, but nobody has hit one, or nobody's on 8 yet. Just a lot of 7s and 6s.
We'll see Assassins here. Shadow Fiend, great AoE burst, going to deal a lot of damage there to the Assassin backline. Sustain on Treant might not be enough. Shadow Fiend does go down. He is a DPS unit here. And Treant against the world.
And look at that.
Not quite enough.
How the mighty have fallen. Not even top DPS.
We mentioned the Bounty Hunter ultimate dealing very well with the Druids. Can kind of deal that little burst of damage that you need to take down the Druid before it can out-heal you. And we saw it happen there on the Treant Protector.
Okay, so this is it. We're going to start spectating the players that are going to be a little bit further down. And unfortunately, one of those is Max brings the axe. He has a pretty solid board, and yet it just does not compete.
Level 2 Beastmaster is on the bench, though. And we mentioned the items being very important. I think this creep round is the first point. I think does he have a smuggler? He does not have a smuggler, so cannot hope for one of those higher tier items just yet.
Yep. I think he's really looking for a couple improvements. I'd love to see him spend gold just a little bit aggressively over the next couple of rounds because he's so close to some powerful stuff. Treant upgrade, Windrunner upgrade, finding room to put something on the board. You gotta be hitting level 7. That level 7 slot is just so important. Your health is just waning per turn. You might have to level to 7 a little bit early here. We've seen some players level to 7 one round early on 16 instead of 17.
See snofe do it as well. Of course, if you pre-level, you can get the higher tier rolls after the creep round comes in. Even if you don't spend money after that, stay at 50. Can still help to see what your options are.
Yep. It was a very, very hunter stacked lobby, all things around. TrueMad still on the hunter path as well. We see a very, very, very similar looking board with all of these players. We even have the Fall from Grace, which turns the Conka in this case into a third Heartless, helping him develop potentially the second tier of Heartless.
Of course, TrueMad and Wrist, no possibilities to move out of this group, have been eliminated at the very bottom of the leaderboard. Mathematically cannot make it out. Naira Time has that very sliver of a hope to make it out, and the real storyline here between Max bringing the axe and YCA4.
It's got to feel bad if you're Max brings the axe. Getting blocked on build by two people that almost mathematically can't make it through.
Exactly. See the damage maybe just not being there. The Knight's very resilient, and Max get another loss here to Chiao Knives, a player that has already made it. And that's a lot of damage as well. A lot of units did survive there.
Yep, and this is where Max goes to level 7. The standard 7 on 17 that a lot of players are doing. You see it across the games, like almost everyone goes to 7 on 17. Very important here because you have to find extra room. You got to find this extra slot for the second Beastmaster. Huge, huge power buff for the team.
And Max, a great start to the day. Ends up 8th in the last game and currently in the 8th place position now again. So a nightmare situation for him. He gets his hopes up at the start of the final day here of this EU group. But now they're being shattered unless he can make a historical Joseph-esque comeback
He still has 2 points over YCA4,
yeah.
which does give him some potential advantage. It's going to be really hard to complete this Beastmaster, though, with everyone and their mom trying to build this hero 3-star.
And it's a very close game as well. Only 20-point differential between 1st and 8th place, pretty much. Anything can still happen here.
We hit that power spike. The double wild axes come through, but it's not quite enough. Wrist Assassins are still taking him down. This is a very, very, very powerful lobby. Max's board, while pretty strong, is just not strong enough on this lobby.
Max does have the Aegis, though, so a bit of a life vest to hold on to at the very end.
See Cmel's board as well. Normally a pretty average board. You know, we do have a level 3 Druid already, which is pretty nice off the Druid passive, but still not really good enough in this lobby. This is a pretty, really, really scary lobby all around. And we see Wrist here just going full Assassin Panda.
That's a good bench as well. You have the Morphlings, 1 away already from level 3. Round 18,
there
and
it is. Oh my!
1 away. Well,
I mean,
now
these queens are close. These bounty and queen are both on 7s. They're both looking for these upgrades as well. Wrist is pretty soon going to go into 6 assassins here. Is this the 9 assassin game, Panda?
It could be because he is out already. So this is all for him. It's just let's see what happens. Let's break the game.
Who am I going to take down with me? Is what you're thinking right now if you're Wrist. Yeah, I mean this is a really, really scary board. It kind of sucks to hit the RNG here.
Yeah, it's just that when you're not Wrist, you're thinking, why is this guy doing this? Who's hurt this man? But Wrist is going full assassins, basically. A very scary board to run into in the mid game. We talked about it before. You can't prepare for every single player in terms of positioning. You prepare for the one assassins player. You maybe lose out on some percentage against the rest of the opponents. So it's always a feels bad moment getting
Max
chunked
is hurting,
down.
but YCA is hurting as well. Keep in mind, Max has the 2-point advantage, but YCA currently, while not necessarily the strongest board, is still probably a little bit ahead of Max here. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of 2-stars, but at least he's got a pretty like solid foundation for a board here. Like Demon Hunters pair very well with Knights and Heartless. There's those big upgrades. YCA hits 2 really big upgrades on the same turn with Abaddon and Drow Ranger. He's realizing Max is kind of going a bit low here and just looking to stabilize. All he cares about is staying ahead of Max here.
Looking at the board, he has the Terrorblades on the bench. He has the Anti-Mage on the bench. So he could be getting level 3s very soon.
Yeah, the level 3 Terrorblade is really what unlocks this entire Demon Hunter
The
path.
Witch Doctor stun seems to be enough, but Luna's still very healthy though, and it's not going to be quite enough. YCA still taken down there.
Max loses to Chow Knight, 14
that
damage.
Hurts.
You really, really hate to see that, but he's still greeting Panda.
Wrist is on a 7-round streak. He's going to end this with a flash. Assassins going full strength forward.
I have to say, Panda, on these outs, on Max's bench, I really would have liked to see a little bit less greed, like some roll downs. He's in another position. He's taking risks when maybe he doesn't necessarily need to be. Bounty Hunter 3-star on the side of Wrist. That's his second 3-star on the 6 assassin path.
It's looking crazy.
Max basically, the risk he's taken is that he's just playing a little bit greedy when he just needs to play safe and finish ahead of YCA. He's gotten more economy at this point in the game, and his Aegis gives him a health boost, which kind of allows him to do this to some degree, but he's still losing just too many boards here, and he's so close to these upgrades. If he hits a few aggressive rolls, maybe he completes like Sniper 2-star, or maybe the Druid a little bit earlier, and he loses to Tomato Potato. I'm on it, Panda.
And I think some players with Aegis, they kind of fall into this trap of thinking, I have this you know, out, so I'm not going to waste any money until...
And we see Max and YCA both losing to the produce aisle here.
They don't waste any money until the Aegis disappears, but at that point, you've lost so much health, and you've greeded so much that it's not really worth it. You know, you have to kind of waste the money earlier and use that Aegis as kind of a secondary out where you've already spent your money.
Exactly. So Max is looking for some fresh upgrades. He really needs to hit some good stuff here. He's on the 6 Hunter path. Everyone's going to level 8, as is the time now. Snofe hits the Enchantress 3-star. Wrist is level 7, looking for 6 Assassins. 1 Beastmaster away from the 3-star on the side of Max. He's rolling furiously looking for it. Hit Sniper, but no Beastmaster. He's all out of gold. This is his last chance.
Do you start selling the Drows, for example, to find some extra draws?
I don't know if you can. You might sell... yeah. It would have to be the Drows if you have to, but I mean, you're not necessarily in one-shot range yet, even without the Aegis. I think you can afford to be a little bit riskier here. I might have stopped rolling after the Sniper got completed, but too close to the Beastmaster.
And still, it's yet another loss here against TrueMad.
Oh, this is a disaster.
Mirana just not enough, and I mean, it's been another big chunk here.
Yeah, I mean, this is the only thing you just can't do. He's just kind of been on the back foot of this lobby every single round.
Another 9 damage, chunking you down. YCA, though, also gets taken down by Snofe. 12 damage coming in for him, so...
YCA and Max are both the losing players in this lobby. Terrorblade 3 on the side of YCA.
Oh, that's a big, big step
and
forward.
He's got the Blink, which we've seen this combo before. One of the strongest combos in the game. Immediate mana gain.
Anti-Mage 1 away. Well, no, he's several away still. He doesn't have the second
But Max gets the Beastmaster 3 at the same time. Both players completing their huge, huge win conditions.
YCA does have more gold, though, so 26 gold to roll. He rolls all the way down to level 8 instead. Leveling up, puts in an extra unit, and now both players down to no gold at all.
Yep.
And both just trying to outlast the other.
Both players on Aegis. We see Snofe hitting Max brings the axe here as YCA cues into TrueMad, who's probably a slightly easier target at this point of the game. So is this finally it? Has Max, bringing the axes board, actually been able to successfully stabilize here? The Beastmaster upgrade is there, but it looks like it's still falling.
Sniper comes in with a big clutch there, but the Warlock heal does... Oh, it's going to be just enough,
and it's good enough. The bear comes out, does a lot, and TrueMad gets defeated by YCA.
That's a good
both players
sign.
are good.
We'll see if YCA does end up... yeah, he makes it, so... Stabilizing for now.
And we still have some outs. We're still looking for something like a Windrunner 3-star and a Drow 3-star.
And Cmel, of course, near the bottom, but he is already guaranteed a top 3 placement in the final standings of this group, so not too worried at all. Kind of autopiloting, could just go get some food if he wants. Would probably be a bad idea, though.
Let's go ahead and check out the Assassin path here. Wrist, still very, very powerful. He's been able to play very aggressively for economy here.
He's only level 7, though, so maybe the 9 Assassin Dream is not going to come to fruition. We'll see, though. He has the Vipers.
Gotta watch Max's board against Cmel after this. But we are against YCA on the side of Wrist. YCA with the Demon Hunter just completely pummels these Assassins. Yep. It's not even close. Max against Cmel. Max against...
Barely makes it.
Cmel. Makes it through.
So both players still surviving here.
Yep. Burning through their gold. We can see here, you know, Wrist obviously just kind of saving up his economy. I'd like to see him burn through a little bit more aggressively at this point in time. And Nairo as well is also kind of on the economy path. He's looking for the same upgrades as, of course, Max, just on the Hunter path. And they feel both pretty deep into this. They're both on 6 Hunters.
To remind the viewers, again, Nairo has to get first place to have any chance. And even then, he depends on Max getting 8th, which currently could happen.
That would be the comeback of the century, Panda. And if Max gets 8th and Nairo gets 1st.
And Max is currently 2 points ahead of YCA. Of course, to remind the viewers, first place gets 10 points. Second place downward gets 7 points. And then it goes 1 by 1 down. So 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wrist hits a big upgrade in the face of Queen of Pain here. That's 3 3-star assassins on 6 assassins on round 24. Huge power spike, but we have to follow Max because he is the decider here. He's the low health. He could get knocked out. He has the Aegis, so he's good for at very least 1 loss.
And he's playing YCA, the 3rd battle in this game. Another foreshadowing. YCA has won 2 of them.
And YCA just feels good here. The Terrorblade is too powerful. Demon Hunters are very, very good right now.
It's close, though. It's a 1v1 there in the very end. Terrorblade does win it. So all 3 games, all 3 rounds, won by YCA. This does matter if they end up in a tie, which could happen. If Max ends up last and YCA ends up 6th, they tie the game. And YCA entered the game with a very bad round differential. He was at -15, whereas Max was at -8.
Looks like Cmel is probably going to be the first to exit here. Lowest health accounting for Aegises. He is 1 knockout away from going out. On round 25, we're going to see some items potentially bailing people out. Cmel needs to be looking to complete stuff. He's 1 Luna away from the nuts, and he's looking to upgrade some of his Knights to 2 stars as well. He's having a very rough night game, which is, honestly, I mean, it's just, you kind of have to expect that going Knights. Sometimes you're just going to hit Chow Knives who always high rolls the Knights.
He's a player that played Knights a lot in the qualifier as well, so a lot of experience with them. Very happy they kind of that, you know, shadow buff coming into this new patch.
So Cmel can't hit a big upgrade like this Luna or hit a big item like Mask of Madness on the Luna. Cmel is going to be going out in 8th place, which eliminates Nairo Time's possibility of winning this game, or rather advancing to day 3.
A very slow and steady Knight composition. Without the Dragon Knight, you don't really have that great DPS, so we see these birds slowly getting chunked down. Nothing too flashy here. Should be more than enough with the resistance there from damage from the Knights Alliance, but again, very slow here without the Dragon Knight.
Yeah, sometimes it's actually possible for Knights to lose against these just because they're so far apart that the Witch Doctor's Cask and the Luna's Glaives don't work on them. So sometimes if you're a little bit on the weekend, Whirly Birds can actually bring you down. It takes a really long time,
which is also not very exciting for the viewers.
Yep.
And there's Mask, Helm of the Undying on the Beastmaster as well to get some extra survivability, 4 extra seconds.
Yep, Cmel looking at the upgrades. He sold his additional Chaos Knights. He realizes that he's so close to just losing the game. His only option is a 3-star Abaddon or a 3-star Luna. The Luna's closer. He has higher odds for it. Looking for the Luna here. The Omni Knight pairs, but he doesn't really find anything. He's got the Omni Knight 2-star, but he's going to have to sell something. He'd rather not to make this.
Sells the Necrophos. Very interesting.
Yep. I mean, he's just in pure stay alive mode. He needs to stay in the game. And we see Cmel, again, the only player at this point who had the opportunity to just get knocked out here because Max still has his Aegis, giving him a little bit of extra protection.
And YCA on the streak. You see the fire there. If you're Max, you're very worried.
Yeah. I mean, those demons are very, very strong right now. As soon as you got the Terrorblade 3-star with the Blink, you feel protected. And we see Cmel hit Wrist on 6 assassins with huge level 3s. That is not what you want to see. But
overall, Knights generally a fairly strong, I wouldn't say counter, but they're fairly good against Assassins overall because of the, you know, the formation in general. It's always grouped up.
Cmel repels. Max is getting his Aegis burned here, though. Losing against snofe, and Max is now on the ropes as the lowest health. Nairo Time going down to 2. His odds do not look good at the same time.
Yeah, Nairo Time to get first at this point. I think it's safe to say he's pretty much out of this. YCA, though, is the big thing. YCA has to finish 5th or higher if Max ends up 8th.
Yep.
Or could change a bit if Max ends up 7th, but we'll calculate that in the shadows while we're trying to cast at the same time because this is going to be the very exciting finish to this EU group. Game 10 finally here.
I mean, it's all coming down to Max here. He needs to be able to out-position here. He needs to find good boards. His Beastmaster 3 is going to be a really, really good tank. But, of course, Helm of the Undying is just going to give him a bit of armor. He hits Wrist's board, which is really scary. These assassins are on his backline. This looks like it might be it. I don't think he can win here. The assassins do have him. That's it. Max goes out.
The Helm of the Undying, it's so close.
Is that it?
He does get hit for some damage, but he was at 6 HP.
Was the Helm of the Undying enough?
He takes exactly 6 HP, and he takes
perfect
8th
lethal
place. On the contrast, YCA, 5-round win streak.
Yep. 4th place in this lobby health-wise, and YCA looks like he might be locked in here. This might just be too hard for Max to be able to overcome that start. And
Max finishes the game on, or the entire group, at 43 points in the standings.
Yep.
YCA currently on 40 points.
See Time adding insult to injury by completing the 3-star on the build that is just blocking Max out of ability to complete his own stuff all game.
If YCA gets 6th, it'll be a tie. It'll be decided by the round differential between every single game in this group. If he gets 5th place, he 100% advances.
See the 3 the 3 hunter players all 6th, 7th, and 8th place, just as God intended.
Looking at Time here at 2 HP, no Aegis either. Playing against snofe. Went for a bit of a savage build there. Yep. Gyrocopter doing work, and it looks like it's going to be enough here for Time to survive a tiny bit longer. Of course, he has to get 1st place to even dream of advancing, so very unlikely to get 2 HP.
Yep. You know what I'd like to see, Panda? I'd love to see this poaching knife being put on this Gyrocopter. Poaching Knife has a really, really great interaction with Gyrocopter just because of Deadeye. He's got great attack speed, he's got good damage, and Deadeye will allow him to just basically start one-shotting things that are lower than 20% health.
How does a Gyrocopter use a knife, though, from that range?
He throws it. He fires it out of his little
cannon.
He has
an infinite amount? It's a fantasy world, we can believe.
Yeah, it's magic.
Okay.
Okay, so we can check out TrueMad's board, the other hunter player, also double-fisting poaching knives. Neither one on the Dusa. Dusa tending to, in this case, prioritize the Brooch of the Aggressor to try to get that earlier ulti off. And here we're against Cmel's Knight board.
Who's also hanging on, 9 HP. Has been low for a while, but Kunkka comes in, hits, maybe not the perfect Kunkka, but hits quite a few units.
Both players
looks like
it's here.
Just enough here.
This is absolutely huge. It looks like he's got it. The arrow's coming in, but the 2 stars are here. This Luna's dealing too much damage.
Looks like it's not going to be enough. Wrist takes 19 damage from snofe. Xiao Knives takes 9 damage from YCA, so YCA is still strong, and TrueMad does make it there.
And YCA has lost the last 2 fights as well.
Time is out. The Hail Mary dream into day 3 is over. He has been eliminated. Still a fairly good showing.
Cmel is knocked down to 2. If you're Max, you're just hoping something goes wrong with YCA somehow.
But at this point, he's guaranteed 6. So worst case scenario, YCA goes to tiebreaker mode. We'll have to look at the round differential for this game to see if he was able to catapult above or leapfrog above Max. But if he gets 5th or higher, he's guaranteed to make it to day 3, and Max will be out of it after a very strong start in this day 2.
We can see these 2 Knight players are kind of blocking each other a little bit as well. But we're going to hit this creep round here. Let's check out Wrist's board. He hasn't really made significant upgrades in a while. He's still on the 3-star assassins. Still looking for this Bloodseeker. Still looking for this Phantom Assassin.
Swim?
Yeah, what's up? Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I got it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Wrist is 1 away from the 9 Assassin Dream, though. So I think that's very important to highlight. Oh. He's not 1 away any longer. He has all 9 assassins. He heard us swim.
Pieces of Exodia. Panda, Wrist could go on to win this game. I think he's got decent odds here.
Unfortunately for him, though.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, I mean, he can go down with style.
Yeah, he wins the battle, but he loses the war.
Yep. So part of the reason 9 Assassins works decently right now, they recently got a change that gives them kind of the old pocket sand buff when you get all 9. And because of their change with positioning, Queen of Pain, Morphling, and Sanking all make great frontliners to kind of complement your Assassins jumping in back. He's looking for some upgrades. He's looking for PA, most especially. The Sanking upgrade is there. Zurist has a good board here.
What do you saw here? He saw the Slark. Was only on the 4th one, so makes some sense.
Has to just go out at this point in time. Sold the Bloodseeker as well to be able to get it, because he realizes he's potentially in 1-shot range, and he does not want to die before completing this Phantom Assassin or Templar Assassin.
Now, do you think there's YCA, do you think it's enough if he does enough damage here? Nah, I think it can't possibly.
It can't possibly.
Terrorblade level 3
22 damage. There's no way. This Terrorblade would have to melt. I think these assassins are critting, but it's not quite enough. The BKB on the Shadow Fiend is pretty huge. Yep. We are going to see YCA take out Wrist here. We have to look at TrueMad's board. TrueMad at 2 health could go down. TrueMad's board looks like it's good. The bear is going to go down here, and now it's up to Cmel. Cmel needs to be able to survive against Chow Knives. Both players at one-shot range. One of them is going to go down here. No, they're both good. Never mind. They're both.
Oh, it's getting very close. If any one of these players goes down, YCA makes it. So it's not just YCA's board that matters. It's pretty much every other board in this.
It would be almost impossible for YCA to end in 6th place here, because everyone would basically just have to tie until he loses 2 fights. Because 22 is just—it's so hard to do that.
Don't jinx it, Swim. Could happen, maybe,
not impossible.
Unlikely.
His best chances against Snofe. Snofe with a 3-star Lone Druid Refresher might actually be able to deal that much damage.
Snofe against YCA's board, possibly to see. Oh, I guess he's fairly healthy. He's not going to die here, but
YCA against TrueMad. Snoke against Chow Knives. They're both potentially within one-shot range. Wrist and Cmel are both at like 1 health as well, as we see Snofe go to town with these beasts. These summons look like they have to have this. The double bear is going to overwhelm this board, and this board feels like with the cask on top just has to be going down, but these knives persist.
TrueMad does get knocked out in 6th place, which
YCA
means
is good.
Wrist is also knocked out
down.
in 5th. YCA guarantees top 4, guarantees the day 3, clutches up in the last game, the 10th game of this group. And Chow Knives also goes down in 4th place, so YCA guarantees the top 3
players getting
placement.
knocked out in 1 turn.
And we see the top 4 in the top 4. Who would have thought?
And Wrist goes down with the 9 assassins. Who would have thought?
Maybe don't go 9 assassins. People at home, don't do it. It's a trap.
It's not terrible. It's not necessary. Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
YCA does finish in style, win streaking, topping the leaderboard, clutches up in the very last game when he needed to. Max had a strong start in day 2, got a 2nd and a 1st place finish in games 2 and 3 of this group, but 8th place finish in the 2 games after.
Cmel on the ridiculous Luna 3 Mask of Madness. We talked about this before. It's basically dealing a very unreasonable amount of damage on this board. It's got effective, I believe, something like 1,400 DPS possible outside of like armor negations.
The summons are here, though. The Bears and the Banana Boys are there. Luna against the world.
Yep,
Can she do it?
Not going to be
No,
enough.
she
Cmel's
can't.
going down to Snofe here. YCA is also getting hit by the Phantoms, right?
Cmel does go down in 3rd place. Snofe hanging on. The 2nd place Legend could get it again. Terrorblade 3 is going to be very hard to beat. Although you have some pretty strong units on your own board here for Snofe, and very close to an upgrade. 40 gold still in his pocket.
40 gold is really big, too.
Yeah. Could find a lot of outs here. Lycan and Tusk could get completed. We have no other level 1, so not a chance for that. And level 10 probably not going to happen.
Sign of confidence, not spending the gold here.
Or a sign of, we're both qualified. Let's just get this over with.
He might have gotten out to go get a snack. It's going to be hard to cast this if he has.
He might be, Banana could be a good choice. Potassium.
Maybe the Venomancer made him hungry. Okay, Terrorblade's going off. He's got the ulti. If this Terrorblade doesn't get focused down, this fight is over because there's just no way to come back from this amount of damage, and there it is. I mean, the YCA is just proving that Demon Hunters just generally do prevail. Good game is called. Is that enough damage? On the side of Snofe, it's very, very close. I think that's enough, though.
Yeah, we're around 34. Snofe goes down to 1.
I don't know why I'm trying to make this exciting.
It's not exciting. It was exciting before. It's over.
I mean, we're...
But YCA, he finishes with style. He had all the pressure to perform. He was the one coming from behind. It was only a 2-point differential, but still, you have to outplace Max. And Max, again, the storyline, he had a great start, dominant position. He was so close. He had everything going for him. The kind of the hype. He was on the hype train, riding it to the heavens. And then it just derailed.
I think he played a little bit greedy. He was we talked about different players in different positions needing to play risky or playing safe, and he played some pretty risky strategies in both of these last 2 games.
Yep. We talked about the Hunters early on, and I told you, if you're Max, do you feel comfortable?
I don't.
Whereas YCA, level 3 Terrorblade, you feel a lot more comfortable. It was a bit later, but still, it was very strong. Snofe here does end up repelling the neutrals.
That's always good.
YCA
loses.
Did he maybe open for it?
Snofe goes to the level 10 with that economy. He's not looking for the Tusk upgrade here. He does have the ability to put an extra thing in.
Some great itemization, though.
Big second refresher orb on the Tidehunter 2-star could be the turnaround you need. This double stun is going to be very, very important against demons. You need to be shutting down their offense by stunning them out. Shadow Fiend's BKB will screech that to a halt, though.
YCA is 1 away from the anti-mage. 5 gold left. Could roll for it.
You've got 2 more rolls here. 1 more roll, does not find it, and that's going to be that's the only upgrade that can make a difference. If Snofe is actually able to pull out a better board in this final fight, YCA will have a few rounds bought with this health and with this Aegis to find this anti-mage to turn it around.
You see the Bears and the Ravages coming in hot and heavy, 2 for each, possibly even more.
BKB is popped, immune to Ravage and all stuns.
There's the first.
The pipe of insight is there as well.
The Bears are coming in, they're multiplying, but it might.
I think the pipe is just too much, and we see YCA just take this. Snofe getting knocked out in second place. All things as they should be, Panda.
Of course, we're back to the basics, and YCA, he needed a 5th place position with Max ending up in 8th. He finishes with style, gets a 1st place instead, and says, you know, I might have just barely clawed into this day 3. But he finishes strong, and he could definitely be a contender to move into top 8. Of course, we still have a lot to see in NA still in the rest of the groups, but congrats to YCA. Unfortunate for Max. A great game still. And panel, what do you guys think about the final placements for this EU group after 10 games?